This video is for the entrepreneurs out there that are going through the thick of it right now. Look, no one believes in you. People are questioning every decision. You're starting to get that thought that comes from deep down, should I just go get a real job? This is my story through that tunnel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Simon Beard. I built Culture Kings from a little market store to a $600 million valuation and listed on the New York Stock Exchange. This is my hope, if you're watching this, is that giving you the hope to just keep going and keep cracking that open, because when you do that hit and it cracks open, your whole world can change. So I started the markets when I was 17, but a lot of people don't know I was actually there for 6 years, grinding it out every single weekend, setting up my store at 5 a.m. in the morning, every Saturday and Sunday, never had a weekend off. This was not a glorified role. People think of entrepreneurship now and it's like this thing. I remember with my mates and everything, I was lowest on the totem pole. I was embarrassed to say it to any girls or anything. Oh, I'm at the markets and I've got this stand. My friends would make fun of me. I would always leave early from the nights out to go get ready for the markets, and they'd like sing the Carrara Markets jingle and stuff at me. And I'd always feel inferior when they're all talking about their big degrees and going into the workforce of these big jobs, lawyers or accountants, and I was still stuck at the Carrara Markets. And so being in the markets for 6 years, there was even this moment I was getting pressure from my parents, from my family. I was starting to have those doubts myself, like, should I just pack this up? Should I go get a real job? Is this ever going to pay off? And I remember this moment, my dad had this conversation with me and he threw this comment out and he goes, I bet you if you added up all those hours, you wouldn't even make $10 an hour. And it made me so wild. And I think it made me so angry because I knew he was right. Underneath it, I knew I was trying so many different things during the week, all these businesses that would try and fail. And I was just relying on this little bit of revenue on the weekends at the markets, but I'm sure after you backed out every hours, he was bang on. It was probably $10 an hour. And so I remember I came down to the markets one day. I was setting up my stand. I'd done everything, my morning routine, trying to get my mind right. I was going to have a good day. And there was another group of stall holders, you know, around 30 meters away, and I'd go over and have a chat to them after my stand was set up, and they were all sitting around bitching and moaning. One was like, oh, did you see the market's putting up the rent $5? Unbelievable. And then the others are like, oh, what a joke. And the others reading the paper like, look at the economy's fucked. But then I was thinking, no, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm born to do this. This is what I'm supposed to do. I learn all this personal development stuff. I know I'm in a low energy state. I have to shift my state. And I'd never done this before, but I went behind my stand and I started listening to Jay-Z, and it was getting me right in the state. And then I was like starting to make movements with my body, and I was sort of making my own version of the haka, where I was beating my chest and creating this energy and certainty in myself. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to wait for people to come down here and shop. I'm going to put on a freaking show. They're going to come to me. And I came out from my curtain, I smacked the bench and I went, ladies and gentlemen, the world's smallest digital camera. And I spruiked to absolutely no one. But what do you reckon people did at the markets? Like, hey Marge, what's that guy going on about down here? Let's go have a look. And they started walking and coming their way down to my stand. And what I realized is that once I got a few people into my spiel, more of a crowd would form. And all this flow state would come back to me. All this stuff I learned about sales, about bottled enthusiasm, about the pre-frame, about setting up the sale. And I realized the most important lesson in sales. When two people meet, as long as there's a feeling of rapport, commonality, as long as you have that connection, whoever has more certainty influences the other person. And so all I did is once I felt I had them there, I just said, look, I don't want anyone to miss out. If you all just form an orderly line and get your $50 out, you've got yourself a digital camera. And then bang, they all got in a queue, got their $50 out. I remember off one spiel, I sold 20 digital cameras, which was $1,000. And it was this big moment for me. As I stepped back, I looked at my bum bag full of the $50 notes, full of those pineapples of the cash and that feeling. And I was like, you know what? Nothing changed. The weather didn't change. The foot traffic didn't change. Nothing changed in this market store except myself. I shifted my own energy, my state, my belief, and look at the difference. Paying $1,000. From then, I built this momentum and went again and trained this muscle. I remember after this record day, I came home and it was this thing I always joke with my dad is I threw this cash down in front of him. I made a few grand this day and I remember throwing it down like, $10 an hour, hey. But it was my way of like, I needed that poke. I needed that tap for me to be able to grow and expand to that next level. And from then, I really built that principle that later led into Culture Kings, is that people are buying a feeling and emotion. If I could generate it myself and link it to the product, bang, I was in business. And I took that exact theory and applied it to my passion of streetwear. Started with clothes next to me, started with one store. And then as I couldn't be in this store and sell directly to it, I realized I needed to train these staff. But I would connect this emotion and link it to the staff. And then that emotion, they would link it to the customer, and then we could grow and expand. And this built the foundation of what is the Culture Kings empire today. But I'm telling you, I felt that fear. I felt that moment. I felt, should I just pack it in? Should I escape? Should I just listen to the crowd? And this is why I tell you this story. It is so important on the entrepreneur's journey. Is emotional fitness is the North Star. You need to be able to build your level, train yourself to go into the state needed, into certainty when everyone else is uncertain. You need to train yourself to be determined when other people are frustrated. The lesson is never quit on a bad day. Get people around you that are at the next level, that excite you, that help you come up with ideas, that help expand your threshold of control so you know what's possible. This is why we created One Life Club with Emil, is to create these entrepreneurial groups, because that is so important. Because if you're just around like those other people at the markets who are all bitching and moaning, whinging about the day, but I'm telling you, they were sitting on their stool hoping someone would walk up and buy their stuff. And my only difference was that I was not going to let that happen, is that I actually had the courage to come out there and spruik to absolutely no one and get the crowd to come to me. It was pull rather than push. But that was the difference to, in 10 minutes later, I made $1,000 when I could have just been, if I was like the normal there of just sitting on my stool waiting for someone to walk up and buy shit, I'd still be there today whinging about the $5 rent increase. This, as an entrepreneur, you have to realize it's this exposure therapy, the threshold of control expands. You have to stretch this every day by doing this, getting around people at the next level than you, making sure you have more energy, more passion, more determination than anyone on your team. That you have to realize you have to be able to inject risk, take on risk as part of that journey. And then not everyone in your family or your friends or your employees are going to understand that at that time. And so if you're going through these moments right now as an entrepreneur, remember emotional fitness is the most important skill. Building and stretching this muscle, train yourself to go in a resourceful state as an entrepreneur, and you have to shift yourself over. That's why I always talk about my emotional chart of being in those resourceful state, because that is where you're going to change your behavior. That is where you're going to get a totally different result and outcome, and you're going to be able to lead a team to help you achieve your vision. Please stay in there. It's hard, I know, it's a grind, but oh my God, trust me when I tell you this, it's freaking worth it. If you made it this far, you are a true entrepreneur because you don't give up. So this next video where you watch about the certain stages of growth and how your mindset changes at the different levels, you need to watch this one here.